بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. من يهدي الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear sisters, my dear daughters, hope you are doing well. And thank you so much for your dua and sympathy for yesterday. And alhamdulillah, we come back today, inshallah, in the biography of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, in this blessed journey, how we can live with him alayhi salatu wasalam, and how can we live with his suffers and his happiness and his sadness and all the feelings that can pass by any one of us, being mentioned and in the best form came in the story of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. Last time, the last lesson, we mentioned how much the suffers of the Prophet regarding the siege that happened around him and his whole tribe in the valley of Abi Talib, and how the boycott happened by the disbelievers of Mecca towards them. We mentioned how these 3 years was very difficult on the Muslims and even the non-Muslims from the tribe of the Prophet Muhammad, and the consequences of this siege when they returned back to Mecca after 3 years. It was 2 consecutive sad events happened to the Prophet in the same year, and this is what we mentioned about it, the grief, or the year of the grief, when he lost his wife, his first support, and how much she was all the time behind him. And also he lost his external support, his uncle Abu Talib. Although he wished that the Prophet wished that his uncle die while he's a Muslim, but subhanallah, he died as a disbeliever. And we mentioned that the hatredness and the opposition to the Prophet message was very clear after the death of his external and internal supporters, as we mentioned. And so he realized that there is no way in Mecca to have more believers. He thought about outside Mecca when he took the decision to go to the Taif, where Taif, we mentioned that is around 100 kilometers away from Mecca, and he went with his servant Zayd ibn Haritha at that time on foot. All these distance, and after that they were very rude and they treated him harshly, and we mentioned how much he was having all the negative feelings from them. And while he went out from Taif, he had a small or a short conversation between him and between a Christian servant. His name was Addas. And at that time, and with this all difficulty, he invited Addas indirectly to Islam, and actually the servant went to enter the Islam. Also, we mentioned that how much was this day was the most difficult day for the Prophet, as mentioned later on by his wife Aisha radiallahu anha, and how he told her that he was just walking aimlessly at that day because of he couldn't do what he can do further, and he made the dua for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we are learning that from him. This dua the Prophet made at that time for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help him and to support him. And then the angel of the mountains came to him and told him, if you want to break on them the 2 mountains around Mecca and to bury all the people of the Mecca under it, but he refused alayhi salatu wasalam from his mercy, and he said maybe the offspring will be believers, and that's actually what happened after that by many years. So Lastly, we mentioned that the Prophet could, with difficulty, enter Mecca under the support of one of the disbelievers, and he tried during during the Hajj season to introduce himself to many tribes in order to can migrate to their land as they can support him. And most of the tribes at the beginning, he didn't find a tribe that accepting this offer. And of course, we mentioned that there is a very little hope is coming by. Few people, few men started to came and entered Islam. And then when during the Hajj time and when they returned back to their tribes, they made all the tribes enter the Islam after that. Still, the circumstances around the Prophet was very difficult. Still, his feelings is not optimum. Still he's asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all the time the dua, and so it was a time for a very special journey, a very special journey for the VIP persons, but VIP person for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one reached this journey before Prophet Muhammad, and no one will have this journey after Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. He's only the one who had the appreciation and the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that happened during this time. What was this journey and what happened in it? This is what, inshallah, what we have today is we are going to speak about the journey of Al-ISRAA and Al-MERAJ. Al-ISRAA and Al-MERAJ. Al-ISRAA in English, Isra in Arabic. In English means to walk at night. To walk during night means Al-ISRAA. And Al-MERAJ, to ascend. When you have to ascend on a higher levels, it is Al-MERAJ. That's why the elevators in Arabic is called Al-Ma'arij. And there is a surah, whole surah in Quran called Al-Ma'arij. So here, the last days of Meccan phase of the Prophet life. Now, by the way, we are speaking around the 11th year after the prophethood. We mentioned that during the 10th year, he had his journey to Taif, and during the 10th, around the 10th year of prophethood, which means that we still have 2 years in Mecca before the Prophet migrate to Medina. So we're still here in the 11th, around the 11th year of after prophethood in Mecca, where the Prophet life are noted for alternate fortunes ranging between two extremes: gradual success and continual persecution and opposition, as we mentioned. However, glimpses of propitious lights were looming on the distant horizon to ultimately materialize in the event of the Prophet's night journey to Jerusalem, or Al-Quds in Arabic, and then the ascension through the spheres of the heavens. As for its exact date, it's still controversial when it happened exactly, but most of the jurists are in favor of a date between the 16 and 12 months prior to the migration to Medina. The following details of that miraculous event narrated by the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. The Prophet of Allah was carried in body form, in a body form. Here in body, this is a very important word to know. In body means that it was not a dream. It was not something imaginated by the Prophet. This is, as narrated by him, it was a journey with his soul and his spirit as a whole body. He went by himself. It was not a dream. It was not a vision. It was, as the Prophet ﷺ, he went as a body. And this is very important in the beginning of this story. He went with the company of Jibril alayhi salam. He came to him in his house, and he took him through a creature like horse, look like a horse, and its name was Al-Buraq, Al-Buraq. And it was not actually a horse. It looks like a horse, but it has a very high speed, more than the speed of the light, because according to the description of the Prophet ﷺ, that when he's moving his front leg is reaching up to the horizon, or as long as you can see, he will find this is his first step, the only first step of this Buraq, which means that he has a speed more than the speed of the light. The speed of the light is more than 300,000 kilometers per minute. So this is it's more than the speed of light, the Al-Buraq. And this is also, we can know that from the name. The name of the horse Al-Buraq in Arabic comes from the word Al-Barq. Al-Barq is the lightning. When we are seeing the lightning and the thunder, Al-Barq war-Ra'd. So the name coming from lightning, how much the lightning is very quickly, very fast during the winter days, like these days. If we have thunder, usually the thunder is preceded by the lightning. If you try to focus on the lightning, how constant, or can you see it's very fast, very fast. That's why the name came, subhanallah, for this creature. And we cannot say a horse. It looks like a horse, but actually, of course, different from any other horse. So this Buraq, it took the Prophet and Jibril alayhim as-salam from the Mecca to the distant mosque in Jerusalem, or Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa fi Al-Quds. Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa fi Al-Quds, distant mosque in Jerusalem. Where there, when the Prophet reached the Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, there, of course, you know that Al-Quds now in Palestine. Palestine is the Quds in Palestine now. When he reached this mosque, he alighted and tethered the horse, or the Buraq, to a ring in the gate of the mosque and led the prophets in prayers. I would like to stop a few seconds in this view. Now the view is coming that the Prophet ﷺ went to Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, and he started to enter the masjid, and then he found all the prophets. You can imagine all the prophets that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala been sent to all the people over all the time since Adam alayhi salam till Isa. Maybe Isa was the last one before, of course, Prophet Muhammad. So you can imagine how much Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned around 25 names of the Prophet in the Quran. And he mentioned also in the Quran that there are many other prophets that Allah didn't mention in the Quran. So, which means that they were by thousands, by the way, thousands and thousands of the prophets, especially for Banu Israel, or the children of Israel. They came to them many prophets. So you can imagine how much the appreciation for the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam to lead those people in a prayer that he led them as their imam or their leader. This is very important, symbolic in this journey. Of course, you will find me after enlightening after the scene, every scene, that we just stop for a few seconds to highlight this scene and what symbolic or what lesson we can take from this scene. It is not like any other journey. It's a very highly classified, and as we mentioned, it is a very important journey to a very important person in the world that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created, Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, the best of the children of Adam. And this is narrated by himself alayhi salatu wasalam, ana Sayyid Bani Adam أنا سيد ولد آدم ولا فخر, which means I am the master of the children of or the sons of Adam, and this is with no pride. The Prophet is saying that because Allah told him that. He's not being proud of that. حاشاه يعني عليه الصلاة والسلام. So when Prophet Muhammad عليه الصلاة والسلام be the leader of all the prophets before before him, this giving us two important messages. The important message is that Muhammad عليه الصلاة والسلام is the final messenger and the last messenger, and no messenger after him. And anyone to come to say I am a messenger or I am having something special relation with Allah and you can follow me, will be all falsehood. All will be falsehood. Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam is the final messenger, and no Khatam al-Nabiyyin, no messenger after him. This is number one. Number two, he is the leader. He is the leader of all other prophets. He is the leaders of all other prophets. So it is a message for us also. We are as a Muslim ummah. We are the leaders of all other ummahs. We are the best ummah, as being described by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Baqarah. كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله ولو آمن أهل الكتاب لكان خيرا. Surah Al-Imran, sorry, not Surah Al-Baqarah. Surah Al-Imran, this ayah came that you were the best ummah. You were the Muslim best ummah, that you ordered by the good things and you forbid the bad things and you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the second message, that we are following the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. As far as we are following the Prophet, we will be the best ummah came to the world. And this is not a case of pride. Will not make like the Jews and will not say we are the best chosen people. We are not saying that, but we are saying that Allah chose us. Allah chose us as Muslim to lead this world, to lead the world with the mercy, to lead others with the generosity, with patience on other religion, on other people. This is the leadership. This is the true characters of the leadership, to lead others with love, with patience, with mercy, and not with any type of oppression or strength or power against others. This is the second. And the third message, again, that Al-Quds belongs to Muslims. Al-Quds is a Muslim city and it belongs to Muslims. And even if there is a church there, or it is a synagogue, or that the house of worshiping for the Jews, but at the end it should be under the control of Muslims, and this is belongs to us as Muslims. And being Muslims will make all the people to freely worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all the religion is freely to worship, even it is a church or any other religion, they can worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the third important message, is that the Quds belongs to the Muslims. And even now, if this is not happening, but inshallah in the near future it will happen, and the Muslim will take over inshallah the Quds. So this is the three important message for that we learn from the praying of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam as a leader to the previous prophets. After that, after he finished his prayer, and of course I can imagine that he salutes all the prophets that present at that time. And after they saluted him, and maybe they just identified themselves for him, he being took to Jibril alayhi salam to the heavens, And this is the second part of the journey. The first part of the journey was in Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, and the second part will be ascent. The first is ISRAA. ISRAA is walking at night, as we mentioned. or riding at night through Al-Buraq. Now we are going up, up, up to the heavens. And I want you to imagine how much it was this miracle that there was no spaceships at that time. It was only the Buraq that its speed is faster than any speed ships. So spaceships, sorry. So that's why we are now reaching the first heaven. And when we say the first heaven, it means that the Prophet ﷺ, he reached all the space and all the, he sent out from the earth. He passed on the covering of the earth. He penetrated all that. He penetrated through the space. And maybe he was seeing the moon beside him, and maybe the sun on the other side, the stars everywhere, the constellation everywhere. He saw all that and going up, up, up to the first heaven. When he reached the first heaven, Jibril alayhi salam asked the guardian angel of the first heaven to open the door of the heaven. It was opened and he saw Adam. Prophet Adam alayhi salam, the progenitor of mankind. The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam saluted him, and Prophet Adam welcomed him and expressed his faith in Muhammad prophethood. This is another confession, and by all the prophets. As we mentioned in Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, he prayed with them as a leader. Now, in every heaven, from the 7 heavens that we're going to pass through, every heaven there is a prophet. Again, this prophet will confess about and bear witness for the prophethood. The final prophet is a prophet Muhammad again. After that, the prophet, he crossed the first heaven, and he went to the second heaven, where Jibril alayhi salam also asked the angel of the heaven to open the gate, and he opened the gate, and there was John, the son of Zachariah, or Yahya in Arabic, Yahya ibn Zachariah, and Jesus, Isa alayhi salam, son of Mary. So Yahya and Isa were present in the 6th heaven, in the 7th heaven, in the second heaven. So the first heaven was Adam. The second, now it is Yahya ibn Zachariah, or John, son of Zachariah, Jesus, and Isa. Then, and also they expressed their witness that the prophet is a final prophet and in his prophethood. Then the Prophet ﷺ, Muhammad with Jibril, they reached the 3rd heaven, where they saw Joseph. Joseph is Yusuf alayhi salam, where he welcomed the Prophet and expressed faith in his prophethood. The Prophet still in the company of Jibril, and he reached the 4th. And by the way, with the Prophet Yusuf, while the Prophet Muhammad was telling this journey, he mentioned that Yusuf was very beautiful, and he took half of the beauty of the whole world. The beauty that Allah created for the whole world, for whole people, for the whole human beings, Yusuf alayhi salam took half of it, half of this beauty. So he was very beautiful alayhi salam. Then Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, Prophet Muhammad, he reached the 4th heaven, where he met the Prophet Enoch. Enoch is Idris in Arabic, is also a prophet, and he is Prophet Enoch returned the salutation and expressed faith in his prophethood. And then Prophet Muhammad was carried to the 5th heaven, where he met the Prophet Aaron, or Harun. Harun is the brother of Prophet Moses, Aaron, and saluted him. Also, Prophet Aaron expressed his faith in the Prophet Muhammad. Then Prophet Muhammad ascended to the 6th heaven. He met Musa. Also, he saluted him, And also Prophet Musa expressed his faith in the prophethood of the Prophet Muhammad. And when he was leaving Prophet Muhammad, he saw Moses began to weep. He asked about the reason. Moses answered that he was weeping because he witnessed a man sent after him, a messenger, yani sent Prophet Muhammad, who was able to lead more of his people to the paradise than himself did. He cried because he wished to have a lot of people from Banu Israel, children of Israel, like the Muslims, but he found that the Muslims following Prophet Muhammad was more and more in numbers than his followers. And we know Prophet Musa, how much he suffered with the children of Israel. And the one who wants from you to know this suffering, you can go to the first juz tafsir and explanation of the first juz of Al-Quran or Surah Al-Baqarah. The first juz is giving us details of the problems that happened to him, trying to make the children of Israel on the proper pathway, and how they been promised to have the Jerusalem, but when they deviated from the right path, so the right for Jerusalem went to Muslims. Then the Prophet ﷺ reached the seventh heaven and met Ibrahim, the father of the prophets. Ibrahim, the one who built the Kaaba with the Prophet Ismail. He saluted him, and actually there was a nice and short conversation happened between them. Mentioned also in hadith that Prophet Ibrahim told Prophet Muhammad to send his greetings to us. He's telling him, send my greetings to your people. And actually, we are very attached to Prophet Ibrahim. We are always we are always mentioning his name during the tashahhud, the second half of the tashahhud. We say, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad, kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim. وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. So he loves us, and we love him, of course. We love him so much, Prophet Ibrahim, after Prophet Muhammad. And he mentioned to Prophet Muhammad, tell your people that لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. If you mention this dhikr, you will cultivate like a palm in the paradise. Whatsoever the times that you will going to repeat لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله, you will find these palms in your behalf or on your account. Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. And also Prophet Muhammad, he was very happy when he saw the Prophet Ibrahim, and he said he looks like me. He looks like the Prophet Muhammad for a great extent, yani, in his way, in his texture, in his face. That's why he mentioned also that Prophet Muhammad about Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. So here we'll stop at this scene also. The scene of the prophets in the heaven, from the first heaven to the seventh heaven that we reached. So what we can learn from this scene or this view? We can learn that there is only one message, Islam. Islam is the only message. Since Prophet Adam till Prophet Muhammad is only one message of monotheism, is to worship only Allah, no any idols, no other partners with him. So it is the same message came by all the prophets. This is number one. Number two, all the prophets bear witness that Prophet Muhammad is the last messenger, is the final messenger. This is a very important point that we can learn from this scene. The difference in prophets, which means that the difference in teachings, not in aqidah or creed of monotheism. The different in teaching means that they may fast in another way, they may do prayers in another way, they may have something to eat that different from what to eat in the prohibitance or commandment, but the message is one message. And anyone believing in Moses should believe in Jesus and should believe in Muhammad. That's why we've been ordered as the pillars of the faith in Islam is to believe in all the messengers. Why we are believing in all the messengers? Because they have all the same message. What is the same message? Is the worshipping only Allah. In Surah Al-A'raf, you will find maybe after 5 or 6 pages from the beginning of the surah, you will find the stories of different prophets, and you will find every prophet is coming to his tribe and his people and mentioning اعبدوا الله يا قوم اعبدوا الله ما لكم من إله غيره. Oh my people, worship Allah, you don't have no deity but Allah. This is a common paragraph or sentence came with every prophet came to his people, which means that the message is one message. Then the prophet, peace be upon him, while he was in the seventh heaven, he saw being shown Al-Bayt Al-Ma'mur. Al-Bayt Al-Ma'mur in English means a much frequented house. It looked like the Kaaba, the sacred house, in the same place of the Kaaba, in the same place now of the Kaaba in Mecca. If you go upstairs to the seventh heaven, you will find a similar house of this Kaaba called Al-Bayt Al-Ma'mur. And this came in Surah At-Tur. Allah is making an oath by Wal-Bayt Al-Ma'mur. So in the same place, but in the seventh heaven, where Prophet Abraham was sitting his back to Al-Bayt Al-Ma'mur. When Prophet Muhammad saw Prophet Ibrahim, he found him sitting his back with his back to this bayt, to this house, Al-Bayt Al-Ma'mur in the seventh. And this is, of course, another appreciation for Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam, because he is the one who built this house. And he mentioned Prophet Muhammad about that this Al-Bayt Al-Ma'mur encompassed daily 70,000 angels, so that the angels who once encompassed it wouldn't have their turn again till the resurrection. So daily entering this house, 70,000 angels, and they are not back. And this is happening since the starting of till this will happen, turn till the resurrection, till the day of resurrection. You can imagine how much it's wide, how much this house is very vast to can encompass all these huge number of the angels every day, 70,000 every day. You can imagine how much per month and how much per year. All these are a number of angels going to this house and will not return back. Means that how much it is vast. So we'll come to the most touching point, that the what we can say the top of the appreciation, the uppermost level of appreciation, when the Prophet reached Sidrat al-Muntaha. Sidrat al-Muntaha is mentioned in Surah An-Najm. Sidrat al-Muntaha. عندها جنة المأوى. The Sidrat al-Muntaha is a place where only reached by the Prophet. No one reached this place except the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. Even the proximate angels. He was then presented to the divine presence and experienced the thrill of witnessing the divine glory and manifestation at the closest possible proximity. He was so near of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so near. to the degree no one before him reached this degree of proximity. And when the Prophet asked after that by the companion, did you see your Lord, Prophet of Allah? He mentioned lights, lights, lights. How I can see? He just he felt, he felt the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but he couldn't see him. He just say lights and lights, Noor, 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 Anna Ara. Lights, lights, how I could see him. But actually he felt the presence, the divine presence at that time. And what type of appreciation? It's a very huge appreciation for the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, and love. That when he reached a place that no one before him reached, means that Allah loved him. That he brought him to a place no one before came in it. So what we can learn here, appreciation and love. A very special love from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the best creature he created. Alayhi salatu wassalam. So what we learn from that scene, that we will going to see now that the prayers being ordered at that scene, and actually the lesson that we are taking from that, when we are, sorry for that, when we are a very stressed condition, we go for prayer. And since that the Lord Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordained 50 daily prayers for him, Prophet Muhammad, at that time, so we can feel that when we feel stressed, we go for prayer to be with Allah. It is during doing prayers, it is a relation between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during the prayer. And this is what happened when the prayer is the only pillar of Islam that been ordained in the seventh, after the seventh heaven, in the Sidrat al-Muntaha. As we mentioned, it is a place that no one reached except Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. So it gave us the lesson that when we need to, we have stress, we have any other type of pressure on us, just go for prayer. And this what clearly mentioned by the Prophet in Hadith Sahih. He mentioned that, or the companion mentioned about him, that when he's overwhelmed by anything, he just go for prayer. Why go for prayer? Because it is a relation between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered 50 daily prayers on us. We're supposed to pray 50 times per day. And the Prophet took the order and descend as his journey near to end. And so he descended with Jibreel to the sixth heaven, as we mentioned, where he found the Prophet Moses alayhi salam. And the Prophet Moses tell him, wait, where you are going? Don't go now, just go, ascend back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ask him to make it to remission in number. So it's very a big number of prayers. How your nation will not bear that 50 times prayer per day? Because alayhi salatu wasalam, Prophet Moses, we love him so much actually because he just made us for us, was a reason, of course, that Prophet Muhammad ascended back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to request from him to decrease the number of prayers, because he knows actually children of Israel, he taught a lot from them. They were not obeying him in the simplest form. So he was afraid on us. He was afraid on us that we could not bear 50 prayers per day. So he asked Allah, he asked the Prophet Muhammad to return back to Allah. And this has happened, by the way, many times until we reached the 5 prayers that we are doing now. And after that, even 5 prayers, when the Prophet descended back to the 6th heaven, he mentioned to him, go back and ask your Lord for remission. He told Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, I feel ashamed now of repeatedly asking my Lord for reduction. I accept and resign to his will. So after that, Prophet Muhammad, he heard a caller said, I have imposed my ordinance and alleviated the burden of my servant. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that it was in the number 5 and in the rewards 50, because Allah will not change his order. The order was 50, but to alleviate the burden on us, he made it 5, and it is actually 50 in rewards. And this is from the generosity, the extreme generosity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then we'll have through many things happens. We'll just, according to the book, he chose some of the prominent and suggestive incidents that happened also during the night while the Prophet returning back. He been shown some of the things happened. So this is being numbered in these points. The first, that the Prophet's breast was cleft by Jibril, his heart extracted and washed with the water of Zamzam. This is before the journey and was in Mecca before the journey. And we mentioned before, this is not the first time. The first time would have the breast cleft or heart extracted was while he was still a child, about 4 years, when he was with his nursery, the one who Halima Sa'diyya, and this happened in her place. So this is the second time where the breast cleft by Jibril and the heart of the Prophet being washed with Zamzam. Also, Jibril brought for the Prophet two gold vessels, one with milk and the other with wine, and he told him, drink of one of them. So the Prophet ﷺ, he chose the milk, and he drank the milk, and then Jibril, he told him, you have been guided to al-fitra. Al-fitra, that he selected, had you selected wine, your nation would have been misled. It is a symbolic way of saying that good and evil in the form of milk and wine were brought before the Prophet. Fitra, as if we're going to translate it in English, is coming to the nature that Allah created people on it, or denotes the original constitution or disposition with which a child comes into this world. Also, it refers to the spiritual inclination inherent in a man in his unspoiled state. This is the fitra. The fitra, in simple way, the nature or what we have in our hearts, that there must be a creator. And by the way, it's present in every person, even without a messenger. There must be a creator. And even with the atheists, they know from their heart that there must be a creator, but they deny that. And this is very apparent when they have a affiliation or have any catastrophe happen to them. They start to make dua for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, from the things that been told to the Prophet, that he saw 2 manifest rivers, the Nile and the Al-Furat or Euphrat, and 2 hidden ones. And these, he been told this is the rivers of the Jannah. But here, to the 2 manifest rivers, the Nile and Euphrat, symbolically describes the area in whose fertile valleys Muhammad's message will settle. Also, Prophet saw Al-Kawthar river, and all of us know Al-Kawthar is the gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Prophet in the paradise or in the Jannah. in أعطيناك الكوثر. There is a whole surah in the Quran by the name Al-Kawthar. Also, his alayhi salam, he had the opportunity to see Malik, the guardian of the hell, with a cheerless, frowning face. He saw the hell dwellers, of whom were those who unjustly eat up the property of the orphans. There, he saw them. People who take usury or riba with bellies too big to be able to move around. Also, he saw trodden by the people of Pharaoh when Fir'aun wa junudi. He saw them when these are admitted into hell. Also, he in the same abud, he saw the adulterers offered the tasty, fatty meal and rotten, smelly one. They make option for the rotten, smelly one. Those are the adulterers, and the licentious women were also there hanging from their breast. This was from the scenes being seen by the Prophet Muhammad. Then he turned back to Mecca after part of the night. He didn't spend the whole night, just part of the night. And he mentioned that even his bed was still warm. When you are leaving the bed during the night to go to a bathroom, for example, and return back, you will find your bed still warm. So the Prophet made all these type of journeys, happened the steps of the journey, and returned back with a part of the night that's still having his bed warm. And actually, when he returned back, and the people, the audience from Mecca, they been from the Muslim divided into two parts. And of course, the disbelievers, they disbelieved this. And for the Muslims, some of them, they left Islam, unfortunately, because they couldn't believe that. And this was a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for them. Although that the Prophet was having the evidence, he told them about that camels of Meccan merchants to and fro supposed to come, a caravan supposed to come after 1 month, and this is actually happened in the way back while he was back in the way. He also guided them to some of their animals that went astray. He informed them that he had drunk some of their water while they were fast asleep, and those from the caravan that came after that as a proof of his truth or truthful saying. Also, he told them about this very accurate description of the Masjid al-Aqsa. When they asked him, describe for us al-Masjid al-Aqsa, they couldn't believe him, because they are calculating everything by their daily life reasons, that they took 1 month going and 1 month coming. So how he could do that in a part of time? They started arguing with them. Although when they asked him about the description of the Masjid al-Aqsa, Jibreel alayhi salam make like a video for all the building of the masjid and how it looks like, and he accurately described the Masjid al-Aqsa for them, but they didn't believe. They finally went to his best friend, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, and he told them, look at your friend, how he's saying that he went to Quds and came back in just part of the night or during one night. We are going and coming back in 1 month. How could he do that? He mentioned with trust and confirmation, if he said that, he will be, I do verify it. If he said that, I do verify it, because I believe him in more than that. I believe that the Quran is sent down on him from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of the universe. So if he told me that he went to a part of the universe and even he went to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I will believe, because Allah is the one who is revealing to him Quran. He was very reasonable, he was very brave, and mentioned that with extreme trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in his messenger, and that at that time the Prophet gave him the title as-Siddiq, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, which means a true believer of Allah. Actually, we came to the end of this very highly important journey that the Prophet ﷺ had. And after this journey, and after he came back, the good news will be coming. Everything will be changed to the better, and this is what we're going to have, inshallah, next lesson. What I'm just want all of us to take as a home message today, that when you have stress, when you have affiliation, when you have any type of unhappy events, go for praying. Go for praying and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely during your sujood, during your prostration, and all the happy news will coming, all the happy things will come. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. سبحانك الله بحمدك لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.